Good morning to the stockholders, officers, and directors of the company. I am Lucio C. Tan III, President and Chief Operating Officer of LT Group, Inc. I have been requested by the Chairman, Dr. Lucio C. Tan, to chair the meeting this morning. As it is now 10 o'clock in the morning, I hereby call the annual stockholders meeting of LT Group, Inc. to order. As with the previous years, this meeting is being convened via remote communication through the Zoom webinar application and is being recorded in compliance with the requirements of the SEC. Before we begin the meeting proper, let me acknowledge the directors of the corporation who are present in person in this meeting. Apart from myself, joining us in the meeting this morning are our Chairman, Dr. Lucio C. Tan, Ms. Carmen K. Tan, Ms. Carlu T. Sai, Mr. Michael G. Tan, Ms. Vivian K. Tan, Ms. Juanita Tan Lee, Mr. John F. G. Kua, Ms. Mary G. Nang, Attorney Wilfredo E. Sanchez, and Ms. Florencia G. Tariella. I'd like to extend a warm welcome to our directors and stockholders present at today's meeting. Let us now proceed with the meeting proper. May we now ask our Corporate Secretary, Attorney Cecilia L. Pisyko, to please show proof that stockholders were duly notified of this meeting.
Mr. President, as required by the Securities Regulation Code and in compliance with the revised Corporation Code and the notice of the SEC dated March 12, 2025, the notice for today's meeting was published in the business section of two newspapers of general circulation, namely Philippine Daily Inquirer and Philippine Star in print and online format for 2 consecutive days. The last day of publication, April 15, 2025, is at least 21 days prior to the date of this meeting. Affidavits of publication were executed by the respective authorized representatives of Philippine Daily Inquirer, Inc. and Philstar Daily, Inc., the publishing companies engaged by management for publication. The affidavits are hereby submitted for the record. Moreover, the notice of this meeting was posted on the company's website at www.ltg.com.ph and on the company's PSE Edge profile. I therefore certify that our shareholders were duly notified.
Thank you, Madam Corporate Secretary. We now move on to the certification of the existence of a quorum. Madam Secretary, do we have a quorum for today's meeting?
Yes, Mr. President. As stated in the guidelines for the conduct of today's virtual meeting, the last day of registration for today's meeting was on April 25, 2025. Based on our tally of those who successfully registered online and the validated proxies and powers of attorney on hand, the number of shareholders present in person and represented by proxy are shown on the screen. I therefore certify as to the existence of a quorum for the valid transaction of business at today's meeting.
Thank you, Madam Secretary. Before we proceed any further, Madam Secretary, can you briefly discuss the rules for the conduct of and the voting procedure for our meeting today?
Yes, Mr. President. The voting rights of each stockholder and the requirements and procedure for participation and voting through remote communication were set out in the company's definitive information statement. In summary, the voting procedure and conduct of the meeting are as follows. First, stockholders who have successfully completed the registration and verification procedure on or before April 25, 2025 may participate in today's virtual meeting and shall be considered present for quorum purposes. The second, stockholders had until April 29, 2025 to send questions on the agenda matters via email at webinars@ltg.com.ph. For the orderly conduct of today's business, these questions will be addressed later in the meeting. Questions received after the deadline have been referred to the company's Investor Relations Officer and will be responded to via email. The matters submitted for voting at today's meeting are as follows. A. Approval of the minutes of the 2024 Annual Stockholders Meeting. B. Approval of the management report and the audited financial statements. C. Ratification of all acts, transactions, and resolutions of the Board of Directors and Management since the 2024 Annual Stockholders Meeting. D. Election of directors. And E. The appointment of external auditor. Number 3. Next, voting in absentia is recognized for this virtual meeting. Stockholders should have cast their votes by email at webinars@ltg.com.ph no later than April 29, 2025 by sending a completed ballot or proxy. Validation of proxies and tabulation of votes were completed on April 30, 2025. 4. Lastly, we wish to remind the stockholders that this virtual meeting is being recorded in video and audio format in compliance with the requirements of the Securities and Exchange Commission. That is all, Mr. President.
Thank you, Madam Corporate Secretary. Let us now proceed with the main agenda for today's meeting. The first item in the agenda is the approval of the minutes of the previous meeting of the stockholders. Our last annual stockholders meeting was held on May 3, 2024, and the matters approved in that meeting were summarized in the information statement. Madam Corporate Secretary, were the stockholders apprised of this item in the agenda?
Yes, Mr. President. A copy of the minutes of the 2024 Annual Stockholders Meeting, prepared in accordance with the revised Corporation Code, was posted on the company's website. The matters approved in the last stockholders meeting were provided under Item 15 of the information statement, which was uploaded to the company's website and PSE Edge profile. With that, Mr. President, it is proposed that in the interest of time, we dispense with the reading of the minutes of the 2024 Annual Stockholders Meeting and approve the minutes as appearing in the company's records.
The proposal is noted. Before we tally the votes on this item, may we know from the Corporate Secretary whether we received any inquiries on this matter?
Mr. President, there were no questions submitted via email regarding this matter.
Madam Corporate Secretary, may we know the tally of votes on this matter?
Mr. President, the tally of votes and validated proxies is shown on the screen. Based on the total votes received, majority of the outstanding shares of the company represented in this meeting approved the minutes of the 2024 Annual Stockholders Meeting held on May 3, 2024.
Thank you, Madam Corporate Secretary. Based on the report of the Corporate Secretary, the minutes of the 2024 Annual Stockholders Meeting held on May 3, 2024 is hereby approved. Madam Corporate Secretary, let the minutes reflect the tally of votes on this matter. Before we move on to the next agenda, our chairman would like to say a few words. Dear shareholders, the year 2024 stands as a testament to LT Group Inc.'s determination to create meaningful change across the industries we serve. Beyond delivering quality products and services, we continue to drive growth through resilience, strategic execution, and responsible development. By expanding efficient distribution networks and investing in renewable energy, we reduce our environmental impact while improving access and opportunities for the communities we serve. 2024 has been a record-breaking year for LTG, marking our strongest financial performance to date. Our attributable net income surged to 28.92 billion, a 14% increase from the previous year. This remarkable achievement reflects the strength of our diversified portfolio, our ability to seize opportunities, and our long-term commitment to value creation across all areas of our business. Beyond financial success, we prioritized environmental and social impact. We planted 4,636 trees to 986 hectares, generated 17,047.32 gigajoules of renewable energy, and recorded a carbon footprint of 242,844.99 tons of carbon dioxide equivalent. Our workforce expanded significantly, creating 2,200 new jobs across various sectors and supporting inclusive economic growth. In our efforts to uplift communities, we awarded scholarships, distributed school supplies, trained educators, and donated rice to those in need. Over 600 employees benefited from the PAL Farm to Table project, further reinforcing our dedication to shared progress. Guided by innovation, adaptability, and a future-focused mindset, we continue to strengthen our core businesses while exploring new opportunities for expansion, ensuring long-term relevance and contributing meaningful to national development. This success would not be possible without the continued trust of our shareholders, the invaluable guidance of our board of directors, and the unwavering dedication of our management team and employees. Together, we will push boundaries and shape a future driven by our shared vision. We now move on to the next item in the agenda, which is the management report for the fiscal year 2024. LT Group Inc. welcomed 2024 with a clear vision and a strong determination to propel progress beyond boundaries. Through innovation, operational excellence, and a focus on long-term sustainability, we delivered strong financial results while reinforcing our leadership across key industries. Our journey as a diversified conglomerate began in 2012 when we expanded our investment scope beyond distilled spirits to include key industries such as tobacco, banking, beverages, and property development. This strategic evolution positioned LTG for sustained growth and market leadership, enabling us to navigate an ever-changing economic environment with agility and foresight. Building on this foundation, we achieved a record high attributable net income of 28.92 billion pesos, a 14% increase from the 25.42 billion reported in 2023. This achievement underscores our resilience and strategic adaptability amid shifting market dynamics. Our businesses continue to generate significant shareholder value driven by the strong performance of our key subsidiaries. Fortune Tobacco Corporation remained a major contributor, delivering 12.72 billion or 44% of our total attributable net income, reflecting its continued market leadership. Philippine National Bank followed closely, accounting for 41% of total attributable income, demonstrating strength in its core income in the financial services sector. Meanwhile, our other subsidiaries collectively reinforced our diversified portfolio, contributing to the group's overall growth and profitability. LTG's current revenue stream underscores the strength of our business model and our ability to navigate evolving market conditions. LTG remained committed to delivering value to shareholders, declaring a total cash dividend of 1.25 pesos per share for the year 2024, bringing the total dividend payout for the year to 13.53 billion, representing a 53.2% payout rate. Asia Brewery Inc. saw a 46% increase in net income to 841 million pesos, fueled by a 5% revenue growth across major product lines. Cobra Energy Drink maintained its market leadership at 53%, while Absolute and Summit retained their cumulative position as the third largest bottled water brands. The aggressive expansion of Cobra Astig in PET format drove revenue growth following the completion of additional PET capacity in mid-2024. ABI Pascual Foods also sustained its leadership in the yogurt market with its new Pascual Greek-style yogurt drink gaining traction as an affordable and nutritious option. Meanwhile, ABI expanded its beer business with the introduction of Leon Strong Beer and ventured into the alcopop market with Pacific Sun Hard Iced Tea, Soju Bomb, and ABI Origins Yuzu Highball, catering to evolving customer preferences. Eaton Properties Philippines Inc. experienced a 53% decline in net income due to lower leasing revenues and higher costs. However, residential sales gained traction, supported by renewed activities in 68 Roses and Eaton projects. The company remains focused on optimizing its 288,000 square meter lease portfolio to maximize long-term value. The commercial and office leasing portfolio remained a significant revenue contributor, with Centris CyberPod 1 achieving full occupancy and Centris CyberPod 3 and Eaton's CyberPod Corinthian reaching occupancy rates of 92% and 81% respectively. In the retail segment, Eaton Centris and Eaton City Square drove leasing activity. FTC posted a 12% increase in net income to 12.77 billion peso from its share of income from PMFTC. An 11% decline in cigarette volume was driven by affordability challenges, the growing popularity of vaping, and the prevalence of illicit trade, prompting intensified enforcement efforts across the industry. In 2024, illicit cigarette seizures doubled to 1.2 billion sticks, signaling a more coordinated regulatory approach. PMFTC has also led the transformation of the Philippine tobacco industry by advancing smoke-free alternatives. The company marked a significant milestone with the inauguration of the 8.8 billion peso smoke-free product facility in April 2024, reinforcing its commitment to reducing reliance on traditional form cigarettes. Employee engagement remained a priority, with PMFTC's PMI DNA initiative achieving a 95% awareness and 94% confidence rating across 40 locations. The company also strengthened its partnerships with 12,000 Filipino tobacco farmers, ensuring long-term supply chain sustainability. PNB maintained its strong momentum, growing net income by 11% to 21.18 billion pesos. Higher yields and loan volumes led to a 13% increase in gross interest income, while lower provisions for credit losses resulted in improved efficiency ratio to 49.6% in 2024 from 49.5% in 2023. The bank's net interest margin rose from 4.2% to 4.5%, further strengthening the bank's profitability. PNB continued to focus on digital transformation and customer experience, achieving a 31% increase in mobile banking while users reduced digital fraud incidents by 94% through enhanced security measures. Retail banking expanded with a 57% increase in online account openings, while international banking reinforced its presence in key markets with remittance and home loan products for overseas Filipinos. The bank also launched its private wealth portal, providing clients with market insights and portfolio management tools, earning industry recognition as the best bank for investment research in the Philippines. Tanduay Distillers Inc. delivered a record net income of 2.15 billion pesos, up 37%, driven by higher sales volumes and pricing adjustments. While market share slightly declined due to competitive pressures, TDI continued to dominate in the Visayas and Mindanao regions. The sale of Asian Alcohol Corporation for 1.8 billion pesos marked a strategic portfolio adjustment, unlocking additional value for the business. The expansion of Tanduay Select production to the El Salvador plant enhanced efficiency, contributing to a 32% increase in volume. All TDI production plants achieved ISO 9001 certification, reinforcing a commitment to quality and operational excellence. The implementation of the Enterprise Risk Management Program aligned with regulatory standards and proactive risk management. Tanduay also launched the Tanduay Heritage Rum and the Tanduay Reserve Rum 10-year-old, celebrating its rich rum-making tradition while strengthening brand equity. Here is a short video on the operating highlights of 2024. LTG remains steadfast in its commitment to sustainability, integrating environmental stewardship, economic development, and community support into its operations. We cultivate green spaces, invest in renewable energy, and work on reducing our carbon footprint and to support our long-term environmental resilience. Workforce expansion, workplace safety initiatives, and community programs in education and food security reinforce our dedication to inclusive growth. By aligning sustainability efforts with business strategies, the company drives meaningful impact across industries and communities. As we look ahead to 2025, LTG remains committed to driving sustainable and innovative growth. With inflation stabilizing and economic conditions improving, we see opportunities to expand our market leadership, enhance digital transformation efforts, and strengthen operational efficiencies across all of our businesses. We extend our deepest gratitude to our stakeholders, board members, employees, and their partners for their unwavering trust and support. Together, we continue to stay true to our core business while embracing new possibilities and shaping a future beyond boundaries. Madam Corporate Secretary, are there any other matters which the stockholders must be informed of?
Mr. President, in compliance with the revised corporation code, the stockholders must be informed of the total compensation received by each of the directors during the past year. Based on the report from the Chief Financial Officer, the following are the individual compensation of the members of our Board of Directors.
Thank you, Madam Corporate Secretary. Did we receive inquiries regarding our management report?
Mr. President, there were no questions submitted online regarding this matter.
Since there are no questions, let us proceed to approve the management report as reflected in the annual report, together with the audited financial statements of the company for the year 2024. You have just heard the President's report on the results of the company's operations, which is also reflected in the audited financial statements and the annual report, copies of which were made available to the stockholders via the company's website and PSE Edge profile. Madam Corporate Secretary, kindly present the proposed resolution and report on the tally of votes for this item in the agenda.
Mr. President, on the screen is the proposed resolution for this matter. The tally of votes and validated proxies is also on screen. Based on the total votes received, majority of the outstanding shares of the company represented in this meeting voted in favor of this matter.
Thank you, Madam Corporate Secretary. With stockholders owning at least a majority of the outstanding shares present voting in favor of the matter, the management report as reflected in the annual report, together with the audited financial statements for the period ending December 31, 2024, is hereby noted and approved. Madam Corporate Secretary, let the minutes reflect the tally of votes on this matter. The next item in the agenda is the ratification of all the acts, proceedings, and resolutions of the Board of Directors and management of the company from the last date of the annual stockholders meeting up to the present as reflected in the minutes of the meetings of the Board of Directors. A summary of these acts, proceedings, and resolutions was included in the information statement. These acts, proceedings, and resolutions were discussed and approved in the meetings of the Board and its committees and are covered by minutes of meetings which are on file with the Office of the Corporate Secretary. These minutes are available for inspection upon the request of any stockholder. Before we tally the votes on this item, may we know from the Corporate Secretary whether we received any inquiries on the matter?
Mr. President, there were no questions submitted online regarding this matter.
Since there are no queries, Madam Corporate Secretary, kindly present the proposed resolution for this item.
Mr. President, the proposed resolution for this matter is shown on the screen. We have also tallied and validated the following votes cast. Based on the total votes received, majority of the outstanding shares of the company represented in this meeting voted in favor of approving all the legal acts, resolutions, and proceedings of the Board of Directors and the management of the company from the time of the last annual stockholders meeting held up to the present date.
Thank you, Madam Corporate Secretary. With stockholders owning at least the majority of the outstanding shares present voting in favor of the matter, all the acts, proceedings, and resolutions of the Board of Directors and Management from the date of the last annual stockholders meeting up to the present, as reflected in the minutes of the meetings of the Board of Directors, are hereby approved, confirmed, and ratified. Madam Corporate Secretary, let the minutes reflect the tally of votes on this matter. The next item in the agenda is the election of directors for the year 2025 to 2026. May we request the Corporate Secretary to report on the nominees for directors for 2025 to 2026?
Mr. President, I am pleased to report that the Nomination Committee approved the nomination of the following 11 individuals as directors of the company for the year 2025 to 2026. Dr. Lucio C. Tan, Ms. Carmen K. Tan, Mr. Lucio C. Tan III, Ms. Carlo T. Sai, Mr. Michael G. Tan, Ms. Vivian K. Tan, Ms. Juanita T. Tanli, Mr. Johnny G. Kua, Ms. Mary G. Nang, Mr. Wu Chong Mr. Raul Leopando. Nominated as independent directors are Ms. Mary G. Nang, Mr. Johnny G. Kua, Mr. Wu Chong and Mr. Raul Leopando. The profiles and business experiences of all the nominees are set out in Item 5 of the information statement.
Thank you, Madam Corporate Secretary. Were there any questions regarding the nominees to the Board of Directors?
Mr. President, there were no questions submitted online regarding this matter.
Can we now hear a report from the Corporate Secretary regarding the votes on this item in the agenda?
Mr. President, we have tallied the ballots and the proxies received. The tally of the votes is shown on the screen. Considering, however, that there are only 11 nominees for the 11 seats in the board, all the nominees are effectively elected as directors of the corporation for the year 2025 to 2026. Mr. President, the resolution regarding this matter is also shown on the screen.
Thank you, Madam Corporate Secretary. There being only 11 nominees and all the nominees having received votes in their favor, I hereby declare the 11 nominees as the duly elected directors of the company for 2025 to 2026. Madam Corporate Secretary, let the minutes reflect the tally of votes on this matter. The next item in the agenda is the appointment of the company's external auditor. May we request the chairman of the audit committee, Mr. John G. Kua, to report on the nominated external auditor for 2025 to 2026 as approved by our audit committee.
Thank you, Mr. President. Good morning to the stockholders, officers, and directors of the company. Under the Manual of Corporate Governance, the Audit Committee is tasked to evaluate and recommend the external auditor to be appointed for the company. The committee's evaluation is thereafter endorsed to the Board of Directors and presented to the stockholders for approval. The Audit Committee is pleased to report that after careful deliberation an evaluation of the performance of the accounting firm of CISIP Gores Velayo and Company, or SGV and Company, for the past fiscal year, and considering the quality of its audit work, the competitiveness of its fees, and its reputation, we have endorsed to the board its reappointment as external auditor of the company for the year 2025 to 2026. The appointment of SGV and Company was approved by the Board of Directors last February 18, 2025, and is now being presented for ratification of the stockholders.
Thank you, Mr. Kua. Can we inquire from the Corporate Secretary whether there were any queries regarding the nominated external auditor?
Mr. President, there were no questions submitted online regarding this matter.
There being no questions, may we request the Corporate Secretary to present the proposed resolution for this item and the tally of votes?
Mr. President, the proposed resolution on the appointment of SGV and Company as external auditor of the company for the ensuing year is shown on the screen. The tally of votes and validated proxies for this matter is likewise shown on the screen. Based on the total votes received, majority of the outstanding shares of the company represented in this meeting voted in favor of the appointment of CISIP Gores Velayo and Company as external auditor of the company for the year 2025 to 2026.
Thank you, Madam Corporate Secretary. With stockholders owning at least the majority of the outstanding shares present in this meeting voting in favor of the matter, the appointment of CISIP Gores Velayo & Co. as external auditor of the company for the year 2025 to 2026 is hereby approved. Madam Corporate Secretary, let the minutes reflect the tally of votes on this matter. I believe we have discussed all the items in our agenda. May we inquire from the Corporate Secretary if there are any other inquiries received from the stockholders?
Mr. President, there were no additional questions submitted online.
Since we have no other matters to discuss at today's meeting, this meeting is hereby adjourned. On behalf of LT Group Inc., thank you for your continuous support. We hope to see you again in our next annual stockholders meeting.
Thank you.
Thank you.